Before we proceed further, request you to please subscribe to our channel as shown above. Hello friends, welcome to Kamat Astrology. In today's video, I am going to cover a very important topic, that is the Mars Rahu Uranus Conjunction in the sign of Aries at exact 24 degrees on 1st August 2022, and this also means that the world will be in danger from 1st August to 31st October 2022. Now, why is this so? What exactly does this conjunction imply? And let us look at these aspects in this video and try to understand more about this conjunction. Now, let us look at this chart on 1st August 2022. So you can see in the sign of Aries, in the purple square, you have three planets, Rahu, Uranus and Mars. And on this particular day, they are at exact 24 degrees in the sign of Aries. So what is the impact of this conjunction of three planets, Rahu, Mars and Uranus? First, let us understand the sign of Aries. The sign of Aries is the first sign in the zodiac belt. It is also known as Mesh, and it represents new beginnings. It represents quickness. It represents action. Now, the sign of Aries and the sign of Scorpio are ruled by Mars. So Mars rules the first house in the zodiac belt. He also rules the 8th house of Scorpio in the zodiac belt. And the 8th house represents transformations. It represents ups and downs. It represents sudden events. It represents accidents. It represents misfortunes. It represents occult sciences. So now the Lord of the 8th and the 1st house in the Kalpurush Kundali is in the first house in the sign of Aries. Now what is Mars? Mars represents anger. Mars represents the armed forces. Mars represents the general. Mars also represents the blood flowing in our body. Mars represents surgeries, cuts, injuries, accidents. Mars is the desire for intense action, and Mars does anything to achieve his goals. So Mars also represents aggression on the negative side. Now what happens when Rahu comes close to Mars? Rahu amplifies the significations of the planet with which it is placed, and therefore Rahu amplifies the aggression, the anger within Mars. Now the sign of Aries is also a fiery sign. It represents fire. It represents intense heat. The conjunction of Rahu and Mars is also known as Angarak Yoga because it is like adding oil to fire. Now there is a third entity present here who is known as Uranus. Uranus represents sudden events. Uranus is beyond Saturn. He lies even beyond Saturn. And therefore, he represents weirdness, he represents eccentricity, he represents innovations, he represents inventions, and Uranus also represents the aerospace and airplane industry. Now, these planets are conjuncting at 24 degrees, which means they all fall in the nakshatra of Bharani, which is ruled by the god of death, that is Yama. Bharani Nakshatra is also ruled by Venus or Shukra. You can see Venus or Shukra present in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is the third sign in the zodiac belt. Therefore, it represents travel, it represents communication, it represents sales, it represents marketing, it represents trade and commerce also. Now let us combine Mars's energy, that is the aggression of Mars, the fire produced by Rahu, that is Rahu amplifies the actions of Mars, and now there is an eccentricity, there is a weirdness given by Uranus here. So this shows fire coming through airplanes, fire coming through air attacks, which means that this conjunction signifies a major war that is about to start in the month of August. Uranus also represents the transportation industry, he represents revolution, he represents rebellion, he represents industrial revolutions. So when Uranus, Rahu and Mars are together at the exact same degree in the sign of Aries, it represents the breaking down of old structures as indicated by the combination of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and a new beginning, a new revolution, new innovations in the aeroplane and the airspace industry. Uranus and Rahu represent out of the box thinking. So in this time, new innovations will happen in the aerospace industry, in the airplane industry. So from the month of August, some kind of war will happen. Again, this Russia-Ukraine war may intensify in that time period. You can clearly see attacks through airplanes, attacks through missiles in this time period. Now, diametrically opposite this, look at Libra, where there is Ketu present. And when these three planets aspect Ketu, it represents a lack of balance, a lack of harmony in the world, because Ketu is present in the sign of Libra, which represents balance. And when Rahu and Mars and Uranus look at Libra, they are going to disturb the balance in the world. Coincidentally, the sign of Aries is the fourth house in Ukraine's chart. Fourth house represents the motherland, it represents the country. And you can see Angarak Yog plus Uranus in this fourth house, which means in Ukraine, in this time period, there is going to be intense destruction. And therefore, Europe will be a very dangerous place in this time period. If you look at Ukraine's chart further, in Libra, they have Pluto. And with Rahu, Mars and Uranus aspecting that Pluto, that is the natal Pluto, it also shows some kind of nuclear activity, explosive nuclear activity that can happen in that time period between Russia and Ukraine. And therefore, this period is a very risky time for the world. At present, you may be laughing at this prediction. You might think that nothing may happen. But clearly, these planets show that from 1st August 2022 till around 31st October 2022, the world is going to be engaged in a major war. And I call this as part 2 of the conflict. You can also see Saturn aspecting the dispositor of Aries, that is Sun, who is present in Cancer, and therefore it definitely indicates a major power struggle and increase in aggression by the armed forces across the world. So I see this conflict further escalating from 1st August to around 31st October 2022, and it will be a very dangerous period for the world. And there will be major wars in this time period is what I see. In general also, Uranus, Rahu and Mars together means an increase in fire accidents across the world. It also means there will be major revolutions in the world, people protesting and causing revolutions which bring about a new change for the better in times ahead. Now Mars represents power, he represents electricity, and Uranus represents sudden fluctuations. So in this time period, you will also see the power or current suddenly fluctuating, going on and off. Uranus also represents the transportation industry, and with Mars and Rahu present with Uranus, vehicles will automatically catch fire in this time period. So it shows an increase in fire accidents, it shows an increase in protests, and it shows revolutions. So without going into more details, I just want to say that this is going to be the second phase of the war, and it is going to be a dangerous period for the world from 1st August 2022 to 31st October 2022. Now if you like this video, please mark it as liked. If you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any consultations, you can email us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com and I'll be glad to assist you. You can know more about us through our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe.